Hello, English 100. This video is for you if you are doing topic number 3. So let's look at topic number 3. My eyes. Coates, Baldwin, and Wright in Paris. Okay, so I have a few tips for you in this short video about breaking down this essay question. So, first idea for you is that you might take your essay question and copy and paste it into a new document where you have lots of room to start breaking it down. All right, so to start, I'll read it out loud. My eyes, Coates, Baldwin, and Wright in Paris. For Coates, what is the significance of his trip to Paris? Examine and interpret Between the World and Me, 114 to 129. Also research James Baldwin and Richard Wright, black writers of an earlier generation who moved to Paris in the 1940s. For Baldwin, Wright, and Coates, why leave the USA? Well, you can probably guess that the answer is racism. Why leave the USA? But you can do your research and figure that out. All right, so James Baldwin and Richard Wright are both famous African American writers from an earlier generation. They became famous in the 1940s, roughly. Let me give you a little tip. This is kind of a side note. You know how Coates sometimes says, people who think they are white? That came from James Baldwin, and you can look that up. Anyway, Richard Wright wrote 2 famous novels. One is Native Son, and the other is Black Boy, which is about him growing up in the South way back. I think Richard Wright was born in 1908. He grew up in the South and then moved to Chicago later on. Okay, so I think you want to be clear about this essay question. So the tip I want to give you is that it really kind of has 2 parts. So let's split up the parts. Let's get rid of these numbers. So there's kind of 2 parts here. You can see the word also. So you can start by thinking, so the underlined part is your overall question. Let's organize it like that. So part A, for Coates, what is the significance of his trip to Paris? Examine and interpret Between the World and Me, 114 to 129. Think of this as being like a 4-page essay, like a few paragraphs on this part of the book. This is the part of the book that you're going to read over and over. And you're going to tell me what he means by my eyes and what it meant to him to go to Paris. Okay? It's a really great part of the book. So I'm glad you chose this question. And so you're going to think of that as being kind of your interpretation of this part of the book as big part of your essay. It might take a bunch of pages. This isn't just 1 paragraph. This is a lot of your essay right there. But then you have the second half of the essay question. Also research James Baldwin and Richard Wright, black writers of an earlier generation who moved to Paris in the 1940s. So you're going to give a bunch of information about these guys, and you can research them. They're famous. There's lots of information. You'll be fine. Maybe we should divide it like that. For Baldwin, Wright, and Coates, why leave the USA? So it's definitely about racism in one way or another, but you got to find out what they said. Why did these African American guys way back move to France. It's an interesting thing. I think there were a bunch of African American writers and intellectuals who lived in France back in the 1950s or whenever. You'll find out. It's really interesting. For Baldwin and Wright, their reason might not be the same as Coates. Okay, so you can use your essay question to start making an outline, but this isn't an outline of a long paper. This is like you're kind of taking baby steps towards an outline. Okay, so think of this as your baby steps towards an outline, but this is not an outline because you are going to have like, I don't know, by the time you're done, you're going to have like 12, 15 body paragraphs. So not just 3, but this is kind of a way to get started. Okay? So I hope that helps you a little bit, and be in touch with me with your questions.